Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining AgroChem's Footbath Automation webinar. Today, presenting our topic will be Ginger Bramall, Chip Hendrickson, and Aaron Lavoie. We go through Footbath Automation, how it can benefit dairy farms. So if you want to get started, take it away.
Aaron, you got reception?
I do.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's talk about factors for better hoof health. This webinar is geared towards automation, and we're going to talk about how that can help farmers. So we have healthy, comfortable cows. Just one of the biggest factors of hoof health, and in that is hygiene, stalls and walkways, nutrition, white line lesions, prevention of white line lesions, hoof horn quality. Hoof horn quality is greatly impacted by the nutrition. Cow comfort. Cows need to lay down. Cows aren't laying down and they're not chewing their cud and relaxed. They're not going to produce the milk that they should be. If the number of stalls is incorrect or overcrowding, then it's going to be harder for the cows to lay down as much as they should. Size of stalls. I've seen many farms where they're not overcrowded, but the cows aren't lying down. They're perching on the stalls, or they're standing with 2 feet in and 2 feet out. They want to lay down, but they won't because it's not big enough or it's not comfortable. So then they'll just stand instead. Reducing stress, improper animal handling, and intensive barn environment can elevate stress levels. Lots of excess noise, crowd gates that make extra noise, those sort of things can have a big impact on stress. Temperature, that is probably one of the biggest stresses for dairy cows. Employees and how employees are handling the cows, training, that all plays a big role as well. And equipment and flooring. Slippery floors are going to make cows uncomfortable. They're not going to walk with confidence, and that can also have a big impact. Hoof trimming. As a hoof trimmer, I recommend routine trimming 2 to 3 times per year, as well as early detection for lame cows. Those cows need to be treated as soon as possible. Additional for lameness, so that's any cows that are polled. But if we're on a good maintenance routine and our foot bath is running properly, there should be a low instance of lameness. Factors for better hoof health. Foot bath. Prevention and control of digital dermatitis and prevention of hoof rot. Recognizing and treating lameness. It's important to recognize when lameness is present, identify the root cause, and treat it. And identifying the root cause, that's something that's frequently overlooked, and cows just being treated and not preventing the reason for it. Research shows lameness reduces productivity at peak yield up to 20% at an estimated cost of $350 to $800 per case. And that's just with the loss of that animal with the hoof trimming. We've got loss of milk production. We've got lower reproduction, repro rates. That's greatly impacted by lameness. That's something that farms have commented to me a lot about when we've reduced the lameness at a farm, how much better their repro is. So lameness has a great impact on reproduction. You want me to keep going, Chip?
Yes, you can keep on going.
All right. Well, non-infectious injuries or non-infectious lesions is overgrowth or lack of wear that causes pain and pressure. Cows can Hoof horns produced at roughly a 1/4 inch per month, but it's not wearing off properly. With the conditions that we have them in, the hoof doesn't shed like it would, and it wears off pretty good, but not perfectly. Just like all of us, everybody's shoes, everybody who's listening, shoes here are going to wear in different spots more than others. So with a cow wearing more in one area, she's going to accumulate more hoof in the other area. So non-infectious lesions is going to be pain related from pressure. And this can cause stretched ligaments, stretched tendons, and pressure in the wrong area of the hoof, which can lead to ulcers, heel horn erosion, cracks, lead to white line injuries. Upper or non-hoof injuries are like a stifle that can cause a cow to go lame, but it's not a foot lesion. It's simply an injury. We'll see that. And that is a big one with stall comfort and cow handling. I've noticed on farms where the crowd gate is misused, a higher instance of leg issues, as well as farms with inadequate grooving or traction. And then, and most importantly for this talk, is infectious lesions, most commonly digital dermatitis or foot rot.
And the reason everyone, just a second, Aaron, the reason those are the most important is because infectious lesions, digital dermatitis, and prevention of hoof rot is what we can do as a company with our company is potentially try to prevent those using chemicals and foot bath systems. The other ones, Aaron and Chip as trimmers give advice as to why those things could be happening, but that's not something you can alleviate or prevent as much with a foot bath. Go ahead, Aaron.
So digital dermatitis infections, painful lesions on the soft tissue between the claws at the heel. Although occasionally it occurs in other soft parts of the hoof on the dermis. Depending on the severity, cows often walk tenderly on infected hooves. This is one of the fastest ways for a cow to lose production and become lame. It goes from 0 to bad in a hurry. The most common causes are lack of proper preventative foot bath routine and more prominent in poor hygienic conditions. Hygiene has a huge impact on the prevention of digital dermatitis and hoof rot. So how do we prevent this? Common remedies. Individual cases with symptoms of digital dermatitis should have their feet lifted and examined and treated topically. But prevention is the key. Prevention, fixing the problem, reducing the amount of lesions that are treated is key. So routine foot baths or proper topical spray foam routine in heifers and dry cows and milking cows. Prevention of dermatitis is probably the cheapest impact that a farm can have as far as milk production and reproduction. They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of treatment. Hoof rot, phlegmon, is redness in the tissue above the hoof. It's at the rear of the claws, acute swelling in interdigital tissues around the hairline of both hooves. Fever can be present and foul smelling discharge. What hoof rot is it's an infection inside of the hoof. The feet are the furthest part of the cow's body from the heart, which means they've got the oldest blood and the least amount of white blood cells, and the immune system is the weakest at the foot. And there's a constant battle going on between the immune system and bacteria. And foot rot or hoof rot is when the body and the immune system loses that battle between bacteria and the immune system. Common remedies based on the case. soaking the hoof, or antibiotic therapy under veterinarian supervision. So it's really too late for the hoof trimmer to fix. Once hoof rot is present, it's still good to have the hoof trimmer inspect the hoof, but now we have an infection inside of the body. So trimming the hoof isn't going to have an impact on that. The hoof trimmer can clean it out, but prevention and treatment are going to be key here. Routine foot baths. Oh, sorry. Purpose of the foot bath. What's the most important function?
I think this is where we're going to have Chip come in, and he's going to take us the purpose of the foot baths and then things that jeopardize.
All right. Yeah, the purpose of the foot bath. You know, what is the most important function of the foot bath? Basically, it is to prevent chronic digital dermatitis from becoming active. And people say, well, I try to use it for curing and stuff, but no, actually, we're trying to prevent dermatitis. We're not trying to heal it with a foot bath. Can we do some healing? Yes, but actually prevention is what we're aiming at. And so we want to help to prevent the foot rot also. One of the misconceptions is the fact that it does, you know, people think, well, I need to run a lot of copper, or I need to run formaldehyde to harden the hoof. It really does not harden the hoof. There's better ways to harden the hoof. Basically, dryer barns. That's what's going to harden it. Take the moisture out. Go ahead, Brian. Let's look at the 5 things that jeopardize any foot bath results. Number 1, human error. By far, human error is the number 1 reason why foot baths don't work. We can go with improper foot bath size. We can go with lack of consistency, incorrect protocols, unreasonable expectations. And how can we avoid this? That's what we come into the automation for. Let's look at human error. Here you're going to look at a picture that was just taken a couple of weeks ago. Improper chemical concentration. Here, there was way too much product going into a foot bath, and it actually peeled the skin right off. It basically just turned it right to leather. The dairyman looks at this and says, oh, what am I doing? Well, basically what they did is they put way too much chemical in the foot bath, and this is the result they got. Another reason, your water overfill. I remember being into some dairies and going in and watching the foot bath, the guys fill it up, and then they go to the other side to fill up the other foot bath, or they had to go get something else. You know, these guys usually trying to multitask. So your foot bath was never the same consistent level. So the other thing, your preparation of your bath. Is a plug in the bath if you have a plug? Is your door closed on your bath if you got a door? Is your bath even cleaned out? Or is it just getting started with a lot of manure and liquids in there already? And how about your alley coming to the foot bath and after the foot bath? Is it clean? Them are the things you got to look at. You can have the perfect foot bath, but without these things being done correctly, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to work correctly. When we talk about improper foot bath size, this picture here was taken, you know, you look at this and you see that there was a pre-bath. That's something we really do not want to do. It doesn't look like it has anything in it, but this foot bath was set up as a pre-bath. And that's one of the last things you want to do is soak up the water, you know, before you walk into the chemical. The other thing I wanted to show this picture is if you look onto the sides, you see that there was a gate. Looks like they closed this gate and put the chain around it, and that would actually stop the cows while they go get the next group. These are the things you really do not want, because it means the cows are standing in that foot bath, they're defecating in it, your foot bath is getting destroyed, and also overexposure of the cow that is standing in there. So you want to look at your improper foot bath location is huge. Your organic loading, your length, your width, all these things are big things when it comes to it. So this picture was showed of what I really don't want to see in a foot bath. How about lack of consistency? That's a huge thing when you're going, well, how many times you go into the dairy? How many times are you running your foot bath? Well, depends. Are we chopping corn, or are we doing hay, or is the temperature suitable? There's many reasons. And do we have time? There's no set schedule. There's lack of training. The person doing it might not know exactly the protocol because someone else gave it to him and he was never taken care of and really learned how to do it. That means that there was a huge, error between the owner and the employee. Lack of labor, well, I don't have anybody that can do it. I don't have time for this. Everybody says, well, we never have time. So there's many reasons why this doesn't get done. Incorrect protocol, huge. We've seen a picture of that earlier. How about the incorrect measurement of a foot bath? Do people know how to measure the foot bath correctly? That is big. I mean, how many cows are going through the foot bath? We running way too many cows through it. That also goes for, do we have a huge foot bath and we're not running enough cows through it and we're dumping good quality product out? It goes both ways. Your mixing containers, do you have something that's got a set for if you're doing powdered or if you're doing liquid? Are you using something that actually has a good measurement, or is it just a guess? Running out of product. That's actually quite often it happens. People are not actually running, keeping track of what we got, and then all of a sudden they're out of product. So the foot bath is not getting run. The person that's mixing up the foot bath, usually he's the guy running, getting cows, and he's doing the scraping, he's doing the stall. So basically the foot bath slides in when it's, can get done, when it's convenient a lot of times. Okay, when we look at the unreasonable expectations, number one, zero lameness. You cannot get zero lameness just running a good foot bath. This picture is a really ugly picture of a claw with a toe ulcer and a sole ulcer. So basically, this cow, the foot bath is going to do nothing to help this foot. All right, so we can't expect foot baths to be able to correct this cow. It doesn't fix these kind of things. Poor hygiene, lack of trimming, reduced cow comfort. Foot bath cannot make up for all those. So you got to have reasonable expectations on any foot bath product or foot bath itself. So we're going to just kind of run through this again real quick. Number one reason, human error. Improper foot bath size. When we talk about improper foot bath size, it means is it too short? Is it too narrow and the cows can walk around it? So there's a lot of different things when we talk about improper foot bath size. Lack of consistency. If it doesn't get done consistently, basically you're going to have issues. Incorrect protocols. You're running too much. You're not running enough. And your unreasonable expectations. If you got a lot of sole ulcers, white line lesions, stuff like that, then your foot bath is not going to fix them. So don't expect it to. Ginger, are you going to start in here, or do I keep going?
You're going to keep going, but
Okay.
but just to reiterate, you can have a very good product. Like there are very good products for foot baths out there, but if you've missed one of those 5 things, it's not going to work right.
You're correct on that.
Yep.
So here we're going to talk about our foot bath dosing systems, and that's kind of what this is all about, was the automation of it. And so on the left, you'll see that a little box with a green button. That's our simple system. We call it our simple system. And then on the right, just quickly on the left there, the simple system will actually run up to 2 foot baths. All right. The one on the right, we call it our FDS, our fully automated system. It basically will run up to 8 foot baths. It will turn on and off by itself. It can start up. You don't have to push any buttons at all. So go ahead. There's reasons why dairies want foot bath systems. Number one, consistency. Better consistency, better results. Reduces the human error. What I say the number one reason why foot baths don't work is human error. How about the correct protocol? We definitely want the correct protocol no matter what product we're running. A huge one of why we put a lot of systems in is actually safety. They don't want their workers handling the chemicals, and that's very understandable. Convenience. Sometimes we just put it in for convenience because this way it frees up help, you know, it frees up the employees to do other jobs. You can have it so you want to start it by just hitting a button, or you can start, you know, it'll start off by itself. It can be set up, depends on which system you want in. In most cases, basically, it saves money because products getting used correctly, better results, your cost of lameness, and we'll get into this a little bit later. And in your labor, well, I don't have someone that can do it correctly. Well, so it just doesn't get done. In your chemicals, if no one's handling the chemicals, it just makes it a lot nicer to work with us. And you'll get equal or reduced lameness. And if you look at what lameness costs, it is expensive. It's $350 to $800 per case. So basically, these are the things you look at of why dairies want systems.
So Chip, one thing under the saving money is it said chemical, because actually not just because people aren't
Yes.
handling it, but
Yep.
also because in certain protocols, running certain protocols compared to what we do, for example, with replenishing, they actually use more chemical and we can get it done with less, and they save money on the actual chemical that they're using.
Yes, and we'll be able to show that later on in one of our slides and stuff and explain that, because that is actually very true. Okay. Your Footbath dosing system, you know, your system capabilities, your advanced mode. Basically, you can do an initial fill, it can replenish, and that's one of the things that's going to help reduce your cost of your Footbath is replenishing. It can be set on a calendar. So basically, you turn around and I want to set it up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or if you want to set it up whatever days you want that week, it can be set up to run day, night, whatever hour shift you want, and then you turn around and you can run it as many days or as few days as you like. All right, it runs up to 8 baths. You can do up to 2 different products. So, and it saves the settings and stuff like that. So you can actually have your settings all saved on a what do you call them, little drives there. And it can be connected to like the GEA Bladder. It can be connected to, we've run some on the Bomatic Footbaths. We've run some on the GEA Bladders. There's many different automated Footbaths themselves that this system will actually run. So it has a lot of diversities.
Okay. So so I'm going to break down some of the numbers for you all to try and understand when you're thinking about a traditional bath versus what we talk about as a replenished bath. Okay. So in a traditional foot bath, what we consider that is when someone washed out the foot bath, they put fresh water and hopefully the ideal amount of chemical. All right. And they have to change it after so many number of cows. Okay. But when the foot bath starts out, it is 100% water and chemical. When cows go through, they kick out roughly 9 ounces, could be 8, could be 12, but it's an average 9-10 ounces of a mixture of water, chemical, and manure, right? Because the only thing getting added into that foot bath is manure. So what you can see a little bit on the right side is that graph is you've got your water chemical level in the orange versus your organic load being in the blue. So what happens is as those cows go through, they're kicking out water, chemical, manure, and they're only leaving manure. So it gets to a point at a certain level where the bath is no longer going to be able to work because the concentration rate of the chemicals versus the manure is it's not working. It could be the manure is binding up if it's the sake of a copper. It could be there's not enough HEALMAX available anymore to do what it needs to do on the hoof. So a traditional bath, the reason you're changing out is you have a low level bath. So the water level is now way down. It's very soupy, it's gone, and it's a dead bath because it has a high organic load. Okay, so that's what the graph would look like there. So the next slide we'll go to is talk about replenishing. So with replenishing, what we look at is, okay, we do an initial fill as we would, 100% water and chemical. But again, as those cows are walking through, they're kicking out water, chemical, and manure and only leaving manure. But if we look at the fact they're kicking out 9 ounces of it, and every so often, maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 1 hour, we replace the water and chemical that is kicked out. It keeps the water level high and it keeps the concentration there to be able to affect. Some people can't quite think about that as how that would work. And what we say is like, well, there's manure in there that can't possibly work. Well, let's think about the fact the first cow that goes through and defecates in there, or the first 2 cows that defecate in there, the bath is still working. Even at 100 cows on a traditional bath, it's often still working. What we're doing is we're keeping it at a level long enough to get many cows through, and that's going to be variable depending on the bath. So also how many cows you can get through depends on the amount they're kicking out. So again, we average 9 ounces. Well, if you don't have good cow flow, if you've got cows running through, you can have significantly more kicked out. If you have cows standing in there, you can potentially have higher organic loads faster. And that all affects the number of cows that we can do total. But by doing this replenishing, the results is that the bath level stays maintained. You're getting good depth. You are getting good chemical coverage. Okay. And I've done, I think I've run 3,000 cows through a 50-gallon bath before because we're constantly replenishing. But everything is affected by bath size and cow flow as well, as I mentioned. Okay. So this is just a little example to compare. So on the 40-gallon traditional bath on the right, you can see at 200 cow passes, it's done. Okay. We've met the middle where the organic and the chemicals are now, it's not going to work anymore, versus the number of cows you see on the left in a 40-gallon replenished bath when we're keeping those levels high enough throughout. Right, next slide, please. So here is just a cost comparison. This was one of Chip's dairies out in the Northeast, or one of the Northeast team's dairies. So we'll talk about on the left first. So this 2,000 cow farm had 1 80-gallon foot bath. Okay. HEALMAX concentrate for them at that time was about $30 a gallon. Most of these numbers are pre-COVID, so don't get excited. Initial fill, okay, so they were running at about 3%. So they used 2.4 gallons, $72. So with 80 gallons, their bath life, without adding anything to it, but just doing full out changes, they could only get about 400 cows. So if you think about a 2,000 cow farm, when they can only get 400 cows, that's 5 bath changes they have to do. So it's 5 full bath changes, which 5 times 72 is $360 a day. And somebody had to go back there and do it. So they went through 12 gallons of HEALMAX per day. And if we break down the cost for the number of cows, it's roughly 18 cents per cow per day of use. Well, what they did is they took that 80-gallon bath and they did a replenishing. Okay. So HEALMAX is still the same price. The bath is still the same price. So they still have that same initial fill of the same concentration they would start with. But they set it up to replenish for another 1,700 cows that would go through. Let's estimate they kick out 9 ounces. We use a 3% solution. They were only adding another little over 3.5 gallons of HEALMAX a day. They only used 6 gallons of HEALMAX a day because they used replenishing and because they kept the level up. Okay, so their total cost was half. It was only 9 cents per cow per day. Now you can't always get them to half like that. This is a very good example. It does a better job with this if you have all the cows going through one bath, then you see the bigger savings. But either way, just consider the fact that the bath didn't have to be changed 5 times. The fact that it turned on its own, it filled, it kept going all the way throughout, and the only thing somebody had to do at the end was wash it out. There was a lot of time savings, a lot of consistency savings, and in this case, there was cost savings in chemical. Okay. Back to you, Chip.
Benefits of the FDS, basically it's a system setup, and this is a dairy actually in Vermont. They had a long, narrow foot bath, and they had about 2,000 cows going through this. Basically, it was a mess. The cow flow was absolutely horrible. They had shut the gate off. So I went in, and as they redesigned this here other area, I said, listen, this is what I want to do. I'll do a wider bath. Number one, I want good cow flow. Cow flow to me is what makes a bath work consistently over and over and over again. So you can see how clean it is in front of the bath and behind the bath. And here you can see it's a video of it where it's actually filling. So number one, the size. All they have to do in this bath is make sure it's ready to go from the start to the finish. At the finish, they wash it out. It turns on automatically. You have to make sure the plug's in, it's clean. I want it clean before, I want it clean afterwards. And then at the end, all they have to do is drain it. There's no one switching products, no one's carrying products. And you know what? The results here are excellent. Basically, you still have to put the plug in the bath, which actually I think I like a little bit more than fully automated, because someone's there to make sure that it's actually, as they're going through, it's getting done, instead of they don't, you have to pay some attention to it. Here, it saves them lots of money. The minimal parts to replacing these systems, I mean, they're very simple to run. So basically, this here to me is an ideal size bath for a 2,000 cow dairy. Ideal size, and it just fills up. It's consistent, works great. Go ahead, Brian. Here we have the FDS is connected to the GEA Bladder. And this is, we have a couple different ones. This one here happens to be in Michigan. So the system here on the left is actually running the one on the right. So here's your control box, and it's running the flush out here in Michigan. So basically it does here, everything is fully automated, and it works good. So go ahead, Brian.
So yeah, we do want to mention examples of GEA Bladder, because currently with our FDS system, it comes as a box. You just have a bath with washout, but we do have the capabilities to run other fully automated systems.
Sure.
So I want to give an example of the FDS Dairy Example as to what the benefits are of automation, even if you have a very good product. This is an example from a farm, 1,500 cow farm in Pennsylvania. They began using our Ultra 2-in-1 product back in September of 2019. Ultra 2-in-1 is one of our most popular products here in the US. Their protocol was set to use 4 days a week. They had 2 baths. At this time, they were using a competitor's fully automated system. All right, they changed. It was a traditional bath change, not replenishing. So they changed 3 times per shift, 6 baths per day. They should have been using 36 gallons per day. That's a good protocol to use if you're using a traditional bath setup, whether you're doing manual or with a fully automated system. That's about how much you expect to use. Here's the issue. They should have used 36 gallons a day, 4 days a week. And for 6 months, all this is based on 6 months, so 26 weeks, they should have used 3,744 gallons. Their actual usage was only 1,650 gallons. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, one, with fully automated systems, one downfall about them is that no one's paying attention to it. So it can be not working for a while, but when you have something where they have to wash out and they notice that it's not full, when they have to do a little bit, someone's more likely to say something sooner. The other is, although this was a system, this is a really good example of what often happens on farms where they're using manual. We have a good product, we have a good protocol set up, but people were busy. That guy didn't show up that day. Someone else new did it. The bath leaked. Like, all these things can come up, and this is often what you see is, they should have been using a significant more, but they were only using less than half of the product. The result on this farm was lameness was incredibly high. Okay, 50% active digital dermatitis lesions, meaning 50% of the cows on the farm had active digital dermatitis lesions. That's very high. Okay, so the same farm, what they did is they put the FDS system in. Okay, so they put the FDS system in June, on June 29th of 2021. They continued Ultra 2-in-1 use. Same 4 days. They went to only 1 bath replenished, so more cows going through that same bath. And so they cut their usage to about the 20 gallons per day. And the result of that was now they have less than 10% of active digital dermatitis lesions. And that was just after the second 6 months once they put it in. So I want to show you, go to the next step. Thank you. So digital dermatitis. So I'm just showing you the numbers. So in 2021, between January 1st and June 30th, there were 873 cases of warts. This came from their trimmer. Okay. And then from when they put it in June 30th, so July 1st through the end of the year, the next 6 months, there were only 153. Okay. So there were 720 cases less. So the trimmer himself, all he did was calculate the amount of dollars that he charges per case of digital dermatitis, which is $5, very reasonable. And he estimated just in warts, they were saving over $3,800. That's just the cost of trimming on warts. This doesn't include the cost of the loss of production, the loss of heat, breeding. It doesn't include any of that. The fact that that injured and sick and unhealthy cows, even within their eggs and ovaries, they're going to pass that on for generations to come. Doesn't include any of that. So you can see just the drop in the graph from 6 months from when before they had it to after. So same thing with the hoof rot levels. So hoof rot levels for the first 6 months of the year without the system, 38 cases. After they put the system in, only 11 cases. 27 cases left. Just the trimming cost was $135. Right. Next one. This is a big one. So cows lost to lameness. Okay. And I can, maybe Chip and Aaron can elaborate a little bit on how sometimes when a cow gets to the chute, it's just she's too far. Maybe they want to elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. So basically your lost cows and stuff like that, basically you're turned around. If this cow is too lame and you cannot fix this cow, a lot of times she can't even go to the slaughterhouse. And this is where it's important, and Aaron touched base on this a little bit earlier, of the importance of catching cows early in lameness. Because if you catch them too late, bad foot rot case, she's too bad, she cannot go. So if you look at the dropping cases of lost cows,
right,
it's a huge amount of money, huge amount of money.
Right. So the lost cows, I mean, for the first 6 months of the year, they had 31 that they assumed were lost. Now, whether they were able to send them to slaughter, maybe not. But the trimmer estimated it cost $800 for the fact that cow had to leave the farm, however she left. Okay, $800 per animal. They had 31 cases due to lameness for the first 6 months of the year. Once they put the system in, they only had 2. So the numbers they estimate was $23,000 in savings because of the cows that they were able to save. All right, and again, none of these costs come into cost of production. So the next slide. Okay, perfect. So one thing I want to think about before we think of the cost per savings, maybe their Footbath system automatic had been working. Okay, maybe it's been working perfectly and they were using 36 gallons a day, or somebody manually that was his job. He loved it. It was so important to him. That was going to get done correctly. Here's a comparison of the chemical usage they would have used compared to once they put the FDS in. So pre-FDS system, they should have used 3,744 gallons. Okay. With the once they put the FDS system in 6 months, they only used 2,080 gallons. That was what the protocol was set up to do, and it did that. So the savings was they would use in the same 6 months 1,664 gallons less product doing replenishing with the FDS. And at that time, at $5.90 per gallon for Ultra 2-in-1, again, these are probably pre-COVID numbers. The savings was almost 10,000. So just if the protocol had been used correctly, whether manually or with an automated system, between doing that way traditionally versus doing replenishing, the farm would have seen $10,000 in savings.
Just on chemical.
Just on chemical. Okay, next slide. So they could have probably had very good results. They could have probably had very good results in the in probably similar lameness levels and still save 10,000. So on the right, you see that there. That's what I just explained to you. The savings compared to replenishing, compared to the FDS, or compared to traditional. But on the left, this is the cost. So the protocol not being followed compared with protocols of FDS. So just on the trimming, $3,870. Just on trimming, hoof rot, $135. Just because of lost cows due to lameness, $23,000, $23,200, and I can't really read that in red very well. But
That's
I
the
know it
total
says
loss,
the
27,000.
total loss is over $27,000 in animals and trimming. Now, one thing is they were using less product than we are, even though their protocol shouldn't have been. They were using less product than we are now with replenishing. So I did have to add some cost to that, which I estimated the only difference in gallons they could have used were 430 gallons. All right. So the added cost of that was, a little over $2,500. So the total savings, had they been doing replenishing at that time with Ultra 2-in-1, their total savings would have been almost $25,000 from not having lost cows and trimmings. And again, this does not include the loss of production and heat. So this just kind of shows you that type of protocol is often what happens when you use manually. When someone has to fill it, when someone has to remember it, you're sitting on almost 25,000. Okay. Back to you, Chip, on the simple foot bath system.
All right, we're going to go back into the simple foot bath system. This here system here is actually set up in Wisconsin. You can see that there's two valves, two lines going out, so this will run up to 2 different baths. It's a manual push button. It fills water, chemical, and it's all based on timing. And this is air driven. So your manual button, basically, you can push it, for a replenish button also. This one here, if you look at it, it does not have it. So we can add a second button to it. Say you have a bath and you say, okay, I want to do 600 cows through this bath. Probably without replenishing it, probably after 300 is pretty well whipped. So we can have another button added to it. You can just come up, push the replenish button, and it'll add a certain amount of product to it. And then you can have that all calculated in how much you want. And that will do water and product. So just pushing the replenish button on this, actually you can just replenish it manually. This is a great option for different farm sizes, from 3,000 to 1,000 cows. But I do have this on a 3,000 cow dairy also, because they change their bath every so often, and it actually worked better for them than fully automated. It's great on large farms. Farms with long foot baths. When Ginger was touching base on the replenishing foot bath, basically foot bath design really makes a huge difference on whether you can replenish or not. So if you're going to have a 10 to 12 foot long bath with a 10-inch curb, I would not recommend replenishing that bath whatsoever. That's a kind of bath that is designed to keep product in. As well as keeping product in, you keep a lot of manure in, so you don't have the splash out, but yet you have a lot of manure loading. So that is the kind that you would want to change that bath every few hundred cows. So this here system would work excellent on that. Robotic farms. We talk about, well, why is this working on robotic farms? Because a lot of times robotic farms, you're only filling one time. You're not replenishing. So you can hit this button and then it'll actually fill your robotic baths up. Okay. How about farms with unequal bath changes? So when we turn around and we say, okay, just yesterday I was at a dairy and there's one bath, there's 100 cows going to go through this bath, and then the bath going towards the other barn, there's going to be 900 cows. So I will change that bath 3 times going the other way, and this one only once on bath 2. So what I would do is basically have this set up, instead of automatic valves, I would probably just put manual valves on it. So the manual valves would just be able to flip a switch, which we do have some of them, and hopefully we get pictures of it, where you can do one side multiple times, and then if you need to run the other side only once, you just turn the valve and it'll fill the other one. So let's go to the next one. Products. We're going to get into the products here. Am I be doing products, or is Aaron doing products? How about I do the products? HEALMAX foot bath.
You go ahead with the products.
You want me to go with the products?
No,
I'll do the
you go ahead, Chip.
Okay. Our HEALMAX. Let's talk about the HEALMAX first. All right, it's our patented concentrate. It has the same mechanisms as healing as formaldehyde, so it means it's got a scabbing agent to it. Your traditional 50-gallon bath for 200 cows, the usage rate, is, number one, we want this 4 to 7 days. HEALMAX is a product I want to see run 4 days a week, okay? The solution concentration is going to vary depending on what part of the country you're in or your climate that you're in, warmer, drier, even like in my, I won't say drier, but my Florida dairies, basically I'm going to be running a 1.5 to 2%. And then in my northern dairies, especially here in the Northeast, I am going to be running a 3%. Canada, I would recommend 3%. So you're going to be using approximately on a 50-gallon bath between 1 gallon and 1.5 gallons. So actually, you're using very little product for a 50-gallon bath. The benefits of this is it's safety. Reason we're talking safety with any foot bath product. No foot bath product is anything you want to get in your eyes or drink or anything like that. So basically, it's safer than formaldehyde. All right. Big reason people like this product is it maintains effectiveness in the presence of organic matters. So it actually works pretty good as far as replenishing this type of bath. The visual cues, if you look to the right, I can walk into a dairy and I can tell if they're using the HEALMAX because it stains the feet an orangish brown. If someone says, well, I don't know how well the product's working, I can walk in and look right away to see how well they're actually running their foot bath by the staining. It's biodegradable. The really nice thing about it is effective both hot and cold weather. It's not so vulnerable like a formaldehyde is, where hot weather evaporates extremely fast, cold weather pretty much goes dormant. You can use it with the foot bath dosing systems, and when you're replenishing it, you can get it at a pretty low cost. It's highly concentrated, so it means it's less shipping, which is huge in these days. This market, shipping costs are crazy. Being so highly concentrated, we're actually able to get quite a few baths out of a 55-gallon container. So, and it's great for robot farms. Robot farms, you say, well, what makes a difference in a robot farm compared to a traditional barn? Well, basically, this cow might pass through the foot bath several times. So if you're setting your foot bath up for 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is, your cow might go back in and go through that foot bath 2 or 3 times. That's something you would not want to do with a formaldehyde product. So it really works well in robotic dairies. Next. The HEALMAX CU basically has a HEALMAX in it, but with this product, we have a little bit of copper blended in with it. So you're still getting the same scabbing agents. We have some copper sulfate blended in there. Your traditional 40-gallon bath, for up to 200 cows. Basically, you're still going to run your 4 days at least a week. I run this at an 8 to 10% solution. This means you're running 3.2 to 4 gallons in a 40-gallon bath. Your pros, still it's a lot safer than your formaldehydes. It still maintains effectiveness in the presence of organic matters. Your visual cues are still there. You're still going to get that orangish brown staining. It's still effective in your hot and your cold weather. And then your vapor pressure is greater than 1. It actually should be less than 1. It works great with your foot bath dosing systems. So you're getting a good cost in your effectiveness on your foot rot with your copper and your digital dermatitis with your HEALMAX. And yet you still have a lot of low copper levels that are actually be going into the lagoon and back onto your soil. So it helps you prevent some of this foot rot by adding more. DURAHOOF. DURAHOOF is our liquid copper. It's a one-step concentrate, combines copper and HEALMAX. It's pre-mixed. It's an easy-to-use solution. Basically, you're going to run this at about a 10%. And most of the time I run it in rotation with HEALMAX or formaldehyde. There are several organic, nice thing about this, we do make this in an organic DURAHOOF also, so you can use this at organic dairy farms. It's great for hoof rot protection. It's easy to mix because it's being a liquid. And the one thing about this product is it stands up. It holds up for a long period of time. So this is a product you put in a bath. It can actually stay in there for a couple days, where if you take a formaldehyde or if you take other chemical products, you put in a bath, it only lasts for a short period of time because it breaks down, where this DURAHOOF will actually stand up consistently for several days. So if you don't have a lot of cows going through that foot bath, you can actually run it through and leave this product in for several days. Works great with our foot bath dosing system, and it's a good solid product, and but it is a copper product. So products is mostly used here. Probably one of our top sellers in the Northeast and through the Midwest is our Ultra 2-in-1 and our Ultra 2-in-1 4X. Very similar products. There's a little bit of difference here. Ultra 2-in-1 is got more copper in it. Our Ultra 2-in-1 4X basically is a higher concentration of formaldehyde. Contains our HEALMAX, has copper in it, has formaldehyde all blended together. This product here is 3 to 5 days a week that we're running it. 2-in-1, you're running a 12% solution, 40-gallon bath, you're looking at 4.8 gallons. Ultra 2-in-1, you're running an 8% solution, so 3.2 gallons. And you can run even a less percentages. The reason that I don't throw this at a lot of robotic dairies, unless if you are, you're going to run this at a lot lower usage rate, just because of a formaldehyde agent in it. And basically you do not want to run your cows through this foot bath over and over on the same day. It's got fast DD control, delivers a synergistic effect for maximum hoof hygiene. Basically, we have surfactants in it for cleaning. Ideal for use with the AgroChem foot bath dosing system. And when I say ideal for use, this product here is ideally used for foot bath dosing system because of the fact of the formaldehyde in it. It's a tougher product to handle by hand. It works great, but it does have the effects of strong odors in the concentrate when you're putting it into the bucket. So that's why the system itself, you don't have to worry about that. Once it gets to the foot bath, we don't really concern ourselves with the chemicals so much. It's the handling of it. That's why this is about automation system. Okay. Products and protocols. So basically you got 4-6 passes of cows a week, typically a 1 shift. So when we're talking about foot bath systems, we're talking 1 shift a day, 4 to 6 days a week. All right. And this might change throughout your winter times, your summer times. So your temperature is going to, vary on this. Summertime, when it's hot, you got sprinkler systems going, cows are under stress. I probably recommend running a foot bath more often than I do in the wintertime. Wintertime, less moisture, there's less, basically what's happening is you have a lot less where the cows are not drinking. So they're still drinking a lot, but the barns are a little bit drier than in the summertime. And then the stress on the cows. Cows like cold weather. HEALMAX, I'm going to look at 4 to 6 days a week. The DURAHOOF, I'm going to alternate them if I'm going to be switching them. Basically, what I'm going to do is run one week, one the other week. Or I have certain farms that are set up running 3 days of one and 2 days of the other, but I do prefer to run one product 1 week and one product the next week. And with an automated system, it works very well doing it that way. HEALMAX CU, it's a combination of copper and HEALMAX. I am going to be looking at 4 to 6 days a week with this product. Ultra 2-in-1 4X, 3 to 5 days a week. Okay. Here's your needs. When we go and say, okay, we want to install a system here, your needs for putting a system in. Basically, you need a dry spot. Your system cannot be in a spot where it's going to freeze. So here you can see the system in the picture. That's in a utility room in Eastern New York where the temperature always stays above 40 degrees. So if your foot baths, obviously it doesn't seem to affect them so much out in the colder weather, but you got to have water running to your system. You're going to have product and you need it so it will not freeze. We want an air regulator. We need to regulate the air so that because this line, when we fill up the foot bath, every time we replenish it or just fill it, we air blow the line so we do not worry about it freezing. So basically you want to have a regulator on there so you don't have too much pressure, but yet you got enough pressure to blow your line out. You need consistent water flow. So if we do not have, if the water fluctuates in pressure quite a bit, we actually, many of these places, we will stick a container of water, whether it's a tote, whether it's a upright container, and stick a pump to it, and so we have consistent water flow. Your foot bath design. Basically, on a replenished bath, I am looking at a depth of 8 inches. When I talk about design of a foot bath and a depth of 8 inches, doesn't mean you fill it to 8 inches. Probably you're only going to fill it to 4 inches. On a replenished bath, the maximum length I want is an 8 foot. All right, I don't want over 8 foot. Otherwise, it's too long and I don't get to kick out. And I also do not get, I get too much manure load once I get over 8 feet long. So basically, if you're going to do a replenished bath, get some design advice. All right. A lot of baths you cannot replenish. All right. I've got all kinds of things clicking up that's wanting to interfere with my. Okay. The thought process of installing a system. Here's a picture. There was this one in northern New York, about a 3,000 cow dairy. If you look at that, basically, it's got great cow flow. Little drop down, 7 foot wide foot bath. And so when I go in, I said, can I give this dairy better results? Number one, they had, before I did this, they had 4 foot baths or 5 foot baths lined up side by side of the plastic ones, and then they had them 2 times long. And it was horrible results because someone had to go down there and try to keep up and fill these baths and clean them out, and it just didn't get done. So the trimmer had me come in, design this. We're getting really good results. So number one, can I give the dairy better results? Can I make it safer or more convenient? Let me tell you something. If someone is not handling the product, then it makes it safer and definitely makes it more convenient. And can I save the dairy money? 95% of the time you can save the dairy money if they are doing a foot bath. If they're not doing anything, they think, well, you can't save me no money on it. Well, actually, probably on lameness, I'm going to save you and make you money. So if I can do one of these here, there's a very good chance that I can get a system in.